Hey folks, and welcome to my critique of The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings. Just a friendly reminder that if you haven't completed the game, there will be spoilers in this video. If you wish to avoid them, please press pause and go play the game before returning. For everyone else, let's continue. Reading developer interviews, I discovered that The Witcher 2 has 16 different endings. Entire sections of the game and certain characters are dependent on the choices you make. Even the prison escape at the start has 4 different outcomes. If you load a save file from The Witcher, this influences things further based on choices you made during that game. After discovering this, I wondered how I was going to write about The Witcher 2. It seems even replaying the game again won't get close to showing you everything. Back when I made an impressions video on The Witcher 3, I mentioned that an early scene where your character gets drilled as to their choices in The Witcher 2 made me feel like I was playing Mass Effect 3 without playing the other two first. It was this feeling that led me to play through the whole series before returning to 3. Having The Witcher 2 behind me, I feel like this was the right call. So much of the world, its factions, and the characters in the first game strengthened my experience of playing through The Witcher 2, and I can only imagine how much stronger The Witcher 3 is going to be after all of this. But that doesn't solve my earlier problem. How do you talk about a game that is designed to give each player their own specific playthrough? The way the game shifts based on your choices, there doesn't seem to be a canonical ending, a right ending, or good ending. While the choices I made in The Witcher proved mostly superficial to The Witcher 2, the choices I made during The Witcher 2 were so much more important to nations, factions, and the state of war, and that has to play a greater role in The Witcher 3, doesn't it? It's even more surprising because while the scope of the game revolves around nations and monarchs, it's quite a personal story for Geralt. It's about retrieving his memories and hunting down the Witcher that framed him for the murder of King Foltest at the start of the game. Being that there is no perfect playthrough of The Witcher 2, and I've only gone through the game once, I thought what I'd do in this critique is examine the choices made during my playthrough and the thoughts behind each decision. In doing so, maybe we can both learn something new. There is one choice in the prologue, whether or not to kill Aryan. I tried to solve the conflict peacefully, but my persuasion failed. The Witcher plays around a little with using signs and dialogue to influence outcome, but it has been expanded greatly in The Witcher 2. Often you can try and use Axii to influence a decision by charming the person you're speaking to. You also have the ability to persuade or intimidate. I have no idea how the game determines pass or fails, and I would say I failed as often as I succeeded through these options. Not being able to convince the boy not to fight me, I had to quickly put him down. The first big choice in Chapter 1 is whether or not to give Iorveth his sword. This is at the Elfin Ruins when meeting Leto for the first time. I came up here before this point while exploring the area. I tried to get into the bath down below, but the game wouldn't let me. I assumed it was for a story point later on, and while correct, I was miffed that the game showed me an area, but Invisible walled my ability to access it. This choice didn't feel monumental to me. Iorveth was sticking his neck out, allowing me to put him at risk to test Leto. When things went awry, not giving him his sword would have been a betrayal in my eyes, and Roche took this act as a betrayal in his eyes. You can't please everyone. The big choice by my reckoning in Act 1 was whether or not to side with the Scoia'tael or the Blue Stripes, Iorveth or Roche. I read through both journal entries before deciding which waypoint to follow, and my thoughts were that Roche was more interested in taking down Laredo. After a side quest where I killed some bandits on his payroll and learned that the Commandant was dealing in Fiztech and had connections to Salamandra from the first game, I was more interested in justice than allying myself with Iorveth and his revolution. Taking Laredo down was satisfying and took me right into Act 2. For as long as Act 2 is, the only significant choice came right at the end. I had thought that perhaps choosing whether to help Iorveth first or running right to Scilly might have changed things. I thought maybe keeping a member of the Resistance alive to hand over to Deathmold might have changed things. Even sparing the mercenary I was sure would have consequences. No. The only significant choice in Act 2 on the Roche path is whether or not to let him kill King Henselt. Roche wants to kill the king because the Blue Stripes were all butchered at Henselt's orders. Bess is found in the war camp, and the game implies that Henselt raped her. Seeing that part of the danger of Laredo near the end of Act 1 was that he captured Vess and was threatening rape, I thought it poor that this was used against the same character twice. In my mind, Roche would have been far more justified in his anger if Vess's body had been among the other blue stripes. But that might not have been much better, getting to know a character only for the purpose of putting her in danger, killing her to propel the player to make a decision. Killing Henselt can be seen as a reasonable action, especially because before the decision he orders his guards to kill you. The idea here is that as much of a scoundrel as Henselt is, he is a powerful and accomplished king, and to kill him would be to plunge the Northlands into chaos as two of its rulers have already been assassinated. I felt like chaos might be the right choice. Maybe it's because I felt a particular irony in Geralt pursuing the real Kingslayer to clear his own name, and then choosing to end the life of the king himself. I also didn't like Henselt, and I did feel for Upper Aedirn and Saskia. They were fighting for a home and freedom. I let Roche have his revenge, which meant that coming up to Loch Mowain in Act 3, there would be one less king to argue for peace and order. Act 3 is fairly straightforward. I chose to escort one of Roche's operatives out of the country and found out about the plan to assassinate Foltest's children. I discovered that two of Temeria's nobles were behind the attempt and hunted down Pruth so both could be dealt with. Then came the first choice. I could either assist Roche in attacking Deathmold and rescuing Princess Aeneas, or I could rescue Triss from the Nilfgaardians. I believed Roche could handle his duty, so I went after Triss. At this point, I didn't know that the Nilfgaardians were behind the whole Kingslayer plot, but in retrospect, killing some of their greatest warriors helped cement this as a good decision. Then the conclave begins. Triss accuses Cele of betrayal, and Philippa calls down a dragon to remove any potential witnesses of the Lodge's attempt at power. Geralt runs after the dragon and finds Cele in a tower about to teleport to safety. It turns out someone replaced one of the crystals with a flawed gem, and it will definitely kill her. I chose to replace the crystal out of a sense of justice. Cele probably does deserve to die, but I wanted her to be captured and face trial. After a frustrating fight with the dragon, I had a choice whether to kill it or walk away. The idea here is that if the dragon is left alive, it'll wreak havoc upon Loch Mowain. The way I saw it is that Geralt impaled its neck through a tree. Killing it is an act of mercy, especially as it was being controlled by the Lodge of Sorceresses. And now we come to the choice that raised The Witcher 2 from an enjoyable experience to an unforgettable one. Leto is waiting for you. Geralt has been chasing him since the start of the game. There will be an end to your fight this time, unlike in Act 1. Through the dialogue, I learned a lot of the backstory of Leto's actions, how Witchers are treated in the south where he is from, and the deal he struck with Nilfgaard to make a better place for his kind. I sympathized with his choices, in that he had looked after Yennefer. There's no real animosity between him and Geralt aside from Geralt taking the fall for the death of Foltest. After these revelations, I had no desire to kill him, and hoped that in a game with such narrative-altering choices, I would be allowed to let Leto leave in peace. To my delight, that was indeed an option. Geralt tells him to leave to the south and walks away with Triss. That The Witcher 2 spent a whole game building to the showdown and then allowed me to end the game non-violently was so much more satisfying than defeating Leto in combat could have ever been. In the end, I wonder if any of my choices as a player mattered all that much. The cutscene after the credits sequence is that of Nilfgaard invading the northern kingdoms. Maybe killing Henselt and allowing Leto to escape justice caused enough chaos in the north to leave them open to invasion. Roche ran away to raise Anais in secret, so Temeria is without a ruler, for now. I wonder what the other 15 endings look like, and how this plays into the opening of The Witcher 3. Despite the replayability and shorter length of The Witcher 2, I'm happy with the choices made. I'm even more excited to play The Witcher 3 now, because more than the first game, the choices made here feel like they will have greater impact moving forward in the series. Thanks for watching. For those of you who played The Witcher 2, how different were your choices? What were the consequences, and were you happy with them? I'd love to hear your stories. If you liked the video and want to help the channel, please press the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I hope you're all having a wonderful day.